Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf. Glad you could join me on this very sunny Sunday, at least here in Europe, for another Books Weekly, my Sunday video in which I discuss books that I've either finished from a previous week or read last week or started last week. And the first book is a book that I finished from the previous week, and that is Sara Baume, A Line Made by Walking. Sara Baume is young, there we go again, all writers are young from my point of view, is a young writer born in Lancashire, but she grew up in Cork, and her debut novel it was published in 2015, Spill, Simmer, Falter, Wither, to much critical acclaim, and A Line Made by Walking is her second novel. It came out in February in the UK and will be published in the US in April. A Line Made by Walking is a novel about Frankie. She is in her mid-20s, she's a conceptual artist, and she struggles with life, art, what it means for her to be an artist, and so she retreats to a very lonely, seclusive family home. It's the house of her grandmother who died 3 years previously, and the house was on sale but didn't sell, so Sara Baume makes her protagonist live there all by herself. So the book is quite a quiet, personal account of Frankie in that house, what she experiences there, but it's also certainly half of the novel is looking back at what happened in her childhood, what happened with her art, what it means to be an artist. There are at least 20-25 references to existing pieces of art, and we learn through the novel that her mental health is unstable. She is struggling with depression. So it's a quiet yet unsettling book, and it's even more unsettling because what Frankie does during her time, the 3 or 4 weeks she spends in that house, is she takes up photography again, and she makes pictures of dead animal that she comes across on the estate or during her walks. I really, really loved the book. I thought it was beautifully written. It was a very raw and personal look into a young woman's life, struggling with depression, but also what it means for her to be alive and to be an artist. It's not a book with a definite solution, although there is a glimmer of hope developing through the book. But if you are interested in a quiet, beautifully written story about a young artist with references to existing modern art, then you will probably enjoy the book as much as I did. The next book is a science fiction of sorts, which was sent to me by the publisher through NetGalley, and that is Katie Kahn, Hold Back the Stars. Katie Kahn is also an English writer, and Hold Back the Stars is her first novel. Many people obviously loved the book from what I've seen. It's just been published in January of this year and has already been sold to more than 20 other countries. It's the story about Max and Caris, who are in outer space, drifting in their space suits after an accident. We don't know exactly what happened in the beginning, and they have only 90 minutes of air left. That's the setting. And then there's half of the book in which the two protagonists struggle in order to save their lives, go back to the spaceship in those 90 minutes left. But the other big part of the book is Caris and Max looking back at their lives from Caris' point of view, mostly how they met, the society they live in, where people in their 20s are not supposed to be a couple. You have to wait until you are in your 30s. So we learn a little bit about the world and the professions they took up and how they met, like I said. So it's a science fiction love story with a twist, in the sense that, well, the lovers only have 90 minutes left and they have to figure out how to survive. I have to come clean right away. I did not like the book at all. And that's probably not the book's fault. Like I said, many people seem to have really enjoyed it. But I don't know whether you recognize that, but sometimes when you read the first 10 pages of a book and there are some pet peeves of yours in there, and you just get so irked and angry that the book is spoiled, whatever happens and however good the writing is. And in my case, that's the princess in distress trope, that you have these two protagonists, Max and Caris, and Caris displays these stereotypical female behavior, like she's crying and she is angsty, and Max is the quiet one and he will save her. Of course, he saved her before. We will learn that later on what happened. And I just can't deal with that. I mean, stereotypical gender roles are annoying to me, and they are stereotypical and annoying even if they are in a science fiction and if the protagonists are in space. So I didn't like it, but as I said, maybe you are not as irked as I was by these, gender stereotypes. You can read past it, and then you might enjoy a love story that is quite different because of the setting, not only because it's in the future, but because of the 90 minutes left, and we see different paths that the protagonists could take, which is all very interesting. But for me, after page 20, the book was just spoiled. Sorry about that. And to continue the truth or dare roller coaster reads of this week, we go from Sara Baume, which I really loved, down to Hold Back the Stars, which I didn't like, up again to a book that I really, really enjoyed, and that's Delphine de Vigan, based on a true story. The book will come out in the English translation by George Miller in April. It was originally published in French in 2015. Delphine de Vigan is a French writer born in 1966. She won multiple awards in France. Her books have been translated. Her breakthrough novel in 2008 was No and Me in the English translation. And in 2011, she published a book, Rien ne s'oppose la nuit, Nothing Holds Back the Night, it's a novel, but it's based on a true story. That will be significant for the book I'm discussing in a minute, about her mother's bipolar disorder, her mother's suicide, and the book was an international bestseller. So in her latest novel, based on a true story, Delphine de Vigan takes the events of the novel she published previously, so the novel about her mother, and makes herself the protagonist of that novel. So Delphine is a writer, a French writer, who published a book about her mother's bipolar disorder and her mother's suicide, and which was critically acclaimed, and the readers constantly asked her, is all that true, and what really happened? So that is the setting, the base for the novel based on a true story. And then Delphine, as a protagonist, encounters a mysterious woman, Elle, who starts to take over her life, and in the main part, the two women, Delphine and Elle, discuss what does it mean for a novel to be true? What is truth in art? What kind of book should Delphine write next? Should she write fiction in the truest sense of the word again, so a completely made up story? And Elle tries to push her. No, she has to write truth. The readers expect truth from her. I loved the book. I thought it was a really interesting and very well written, and as far as I can tell, also very well translated book about what it means to be a writer and what it means to tell a true story as a writer, be it fiction or a memoir or an autobiography. And the unsettling relationship between Delphine and Elle and how it ends. I can't give the ending away obviously because of spoilers. So but that relationship adds also a suspense twist to the story, almost a crime novel kind of twist. I mean, it's not a crime novel obviously, but it has this crime element because of the relationship between the two women. So I think it's a fantastic book. It might be that I liked it especially because I'm a writer myself, so I always love books about writers and about writing. But I think it's a book even for people who are not that interested maybe in that aspect of the book, because it really tackles questions that are important for readers. What makes a story true? Is it important that the author's life is in the story? So, like I said, I highly recommend the book, which was, by the way, also sent to me by the publisher through NetGalley. Give it a try and let me know what you think if you do. And the last book is the book that I've just started this weekend. It's historical fiction, Margaret the First by Danille Dutton. Danille Dutton is an American writer born in California in 1975. She has written 2 previous books, a novel and a more biography / poetry kind of genre bender book. So Margaret the First is her 3rd novel. It came out last year, 2016, and it's, like I said, historical fiction about Margaret Cavendish, a duchess in the 17th century. I don't know whether you've heard of her. I will certainly talk about her much more in my Books Weekly next Sunday when I've read the book, because I'm absolutely fascinated by that woman. She was such a peculiar, different character and very, very interesting. And I'm dying to read this historical fiction account of her life. I will leave also a link to a book review by Open Letters Monthly, the darling online literary review run also by Steve Donahue. You might be familiar with his channel. If you're not, check him out and subscribe because he is fantastic. So I will leave this link to the review down below if you're interested, and I will talk much more about Margaret Cavendish, so be prepared next Sunday. So this was it for this week's Books Weekly. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Looking forward, as always, to your comments, and I wish you a very sunny rest of the Sunday, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.